Good evening, everyone, from Cobb Stadium. I'm Pete Barker, along with Eric Nelson, here to bring you the, well, I guess you could call it a critical game, Eric, between the Sanford High Redskins and the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans. Both teams playing their fourth game in still a young Class A season, Western Maine Class A season, but the Redskins at 1-2, Thornton at 2-1. They really need this game.
They certainly do, Pete. It's, as you mentioned, relatively young, still in the season, a 9-game schedule for both of these clubs, but it's a pivotal game. Sanford has beaten Cheverus, as has Thornton Academy, and that was big victories for both of those ball clubs. But I think the important thing for Sanford this evening, if they want to remain in the playoff hunt in Class A West, I think a victory tonight is something they're going to need.
Certainly are, and of course Sanford has played all season without Jeff Lapierre, out with a knee injury, and they don't have the tackle Ken Hall, and that has probably hurt them to this point in the season. But if ever a time the Redskins need to come up with a big victory, certainly tonight. Thornton, of course, a team they've had trouble with throughout the years. They have won 2 of their last 3 with them, including a big victory here a couple of years ago that vaulted Sanford into the playoffs. They won it in the very last seconds of play. And all thoughts look, the way conditions are today, a cool night for football, that it could come down that way again.
It's an important game for Sanford. As you mentioned, they've had trouble with Thornton in the past, and I think one of the keys for Sanford tonight, in order to win this ball game, is they're going to have to play mistake-free football. I think that's something that's plagued them in the first few games of the season. Their opening loss to Lewiston, 20-14, was a game that was riddled with turnovers at, for Sanford, what was inopportune times. And I think they made some of those same mistakes against South Portland last week. And I know that Coach Connolly is stressing to his club probably right now before they come out onto the field that if you want to beat the defending state champion, you're going to have to come out and play and execute well and not commit many mistakes.
And that's the point to bring up. The Thornton Academy, 10-0 last year, knows that they can win some football games. And you're right, the mistakes. Don't know how many games in any sport mistakes will kill you, and Sanford has had their share of them this year, fumbling inside the 4-yard line and having a pass intercepted up at South Portland when they got to the 9. So that just doesn't go for good football. And it's going to be a defensive battle, I think, too, Eric.
Yeah, Sanford has been strong defensively. The one time we've seen them on New England Cablevision this year, in the Cheverus game, we noticed that their defense was very strong, and their defense kept them in the game and really kept Cheverus off the board until the late stages of that game in the fourth quarter. So their defense, I think, is a Sanford strong point.
And I mentioned that both teams beat Cheverus by 1 point, which happened to be a misconversion on the part of Cheverus. So, you know, you just don't wonder how long something like that will last. But definitely, as we said at the outset, it's a big game for the Sanford High Redskins and the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans here at Cobb Stadium in Sanford. We'll be back with the start of this game after this.
Excellent. Well, yeah, we'll have to fluff a lot here. I think I will,
yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
How much time's on the clock? 9. It's ready to roll.
Well,
ready to roll,
kickoff yet. The TA's not even out there yet. I'd rather have TA out there on the field and have the coin toss type of thing if we can.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about upcoming things or something. I don't know. But just standings, if I can think about them off the top of my head.
Yeah, this is.
If you want to do it that way. I think
this is the tough part. Their schedule eases up after this, right?
Oh, yeah. They've
played the bulk of the difficult games now.
Well, they've still got Yale and Biddeford on the road. Right now, those two are in. But, yeah.
We could elaborate on why we think the game's important as far as playoff positioning is concerned with that third loss.
Yeah, and then if they get in a tie, then obviously it doesn't help. Gotta wait till TA comes out, though. A few minutes yet. You're right, there's a problem. Yeah.
There we go, 50.
There we are.
50.
Now you give us the old...
That's Cook and Sullivan are going out. Man, I'm surprised that... Do you have it on the right filter, Rich? Got it on the right filter? What filter do you have it on?
I don't think he's going to pay. He's got a longer cable. Ready?
I'm ready, Pete.
We're ready.
Tell him to turn me down in here. I can see him bleaching.
Turn Richard down a hair. He appears to be bleaching up here, is his complaint.
The white.
The whites are flaring.
That's good.
That looks all right.
Ready? Yep. Anytime.
All right, we're moments away, Eric Nelson, from the start of this football game between the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans, the visitors here tonight at Cobb Stadium in Sanford, and the homestanding Sanford Redskins. And it appears that the visiting team, the Trojans, in the maroon and white out there, have won the toss and will receive.
It's certainly a night for football, Pete. The temperature is supposed to dip down into the upper 30s later on this evening. There's a little bit of wind here in the press box, but as I look across the field over to the flagpole, the flag isn't moving, so maybe that means there's no wind down on the field. But again, it is a little cold, but I imagine the players are quite pumped up at this point, and the cold's really not going to bother them.
I wouldn't think so, as long as it doesn't get down below the freezing point, because I'm sure these players, after having practiced some rather hot days in preseason, prefer this. And we were going to talk about the standings. We did want to mention that the football standings right now have 4 undefeated teams in Western Maine Class A with 3-0 records. Portland, Biddeford, South Portland, and Lewiston. And Biddeford and Lewiston are meeting in a game up at Lewiston, which is going to settle that. And of course, Edward Little and Thornton Academy are 2-1. So there's a horse race right now for the 4 playoff spots.
And I think that's why it's important this evening, and well, we'll get back to those points, I guess, Pete, after our national anthem.
You've had the playing of the national anthem here at Cobb Stadium in Sanford, and we're about ready for a key Western Maine clash. Of course, as Sanford fans and Thornton Academy fans going back a ways know, Thornton Academy has dominated this series, and it wasn't until 84 and 85 that Sanford was able to win 2 straight, and they were not able to win at Thornton Academy for 20 years. So Thornton has dominated this, but Sanford has won a couple of key games over the past 3 years. Last year they did not, of course, with Thornton going all the way undefeated. Played Sanford and made some mistakes and did not play well up at Saco, and gave up a lot of points in the last quarter in that particular game. But here, this is a different story, and it's the 4th game of the season for both clubs, and a big one for both clubs. And getting ready, Dan Laprise is going to get ready to do the kicking. And it's coming down to about the 22-yard line, where it's just fallen on by Dan Gamache, one of the 3 captains for the Thornton Academy Golden Trojan. He wasn't about to take any risk, I guess, Eric.
Certainly not in an early stage of the game like that, and it's pretty good field position actually for Thornton, so of course not wanting to risk anything there, just followed on the ball and downed it, and Thornton will take over at their own 22 in decent field position to start the game.
Indeed. Bill Soucy will be the quarterback. Number 16, he's a 5'10", 165-pound senior. Man in motion and going up the middle, picked up about 5 yards.
Oh, good first down yardage for Thornton Academy, as we noticed on that play. Sanford was down in their 4-man line, as they showed us in the Chevrolet game, with pretty much 2 down linemen, Underwood and LaRue. And that time they just pulled LaRue off the line and opened up a little bit of a hole, and that caused the linebacker had to come in on that play. That was Jeff Pender.
The fullback Jeff Sia picking up 5 yards on that play. Let's call it a 2nd and 5 on the 27. There goes the handoff, and he finds a little hole, but not much running room. That was Scott Terrell, the senior halfback, number 21, and he barely, give him about a yard pickup on the play.
Now, Jason McCann made a good defensive play, Pete, there. Again, they seemed to be trying to exploit that left side of the Sanford defensive line, and again, they were able to create a hole, but McCann came over from his linebacker position and snuck by and caught him just a few yards, or just about at the line of scrimmage.
So the time for a 3rd down conversion. First of the game for the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans. Call it about a 3rd and 4. And Soucy keeping the ball, and Soucy's going to be knocked down as he keeps around the right side. Knocked down around over the 30-yard line. And I guess it's going to be a little bit shy of that 1st down.
About a yard short, but Thornton in their first series tonight showing us that they want to keep the ball pretty much on the ground, that time running an option play where the quarterback decided to keep the ball, and a good 1st down saving tackle by Roland Cody.
Back on about his own 19. Well, he'll boot it from closer than that. Will be the Golden Trojans punter who gets it out, and it's coming down, picked up by the Redskins' Bob Worley, the quick Bob Worley, and he has a fairly decent return to put the Redskins in pretty good field position at the midfield area.
Well, you couldn't have asked for much more as far as Sanford is concerned. Thornton comes out their first series of the ball game. They go 1-2-3 punt. They end up giving Sanford excellent field position on the good return by Worley, and they're going to have the ball technically in Thornton Academy territory at just about the 49, and we're going to see what the Sanford offense can do.
Indeed, 1st and 10 for the Redskins at the Thornton 49. LaFreeze, the quarterback. Now in motion to the right, Sullivan. LaFreeze going to keep, and he's going to pitch out to Sullivan. And Sullivan's got some good, decent running room. And Sullivan for a good 1st down pickup all the way down inside the 35-yard line of the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans.
That was an excellent play by Danny LaPrise. Again, they're running the same play that Thornton Academy ran at the end of their first series. This time they ran it to the left side. LaPrise, I thought, was going to just hold on to the football. He looked like he was in the grasp, but no one had gone out to take Sullivan, probably assuming the tackle was going to be there. He pitched to him, and a good 1st down.
Give him about a 15-yard pickup on that play and make it 1st and 10 at the 34. LaPrise now going over the right and incomplete. Just overthrown. Sullivan, the intended receiver, but the coverage was pretty nice down there with Dan Gamache on the coverage for TA.
Well, we saw a lot of those type of plays during the Chevrolet ball game. LaPrise looking for pretty much his favorite receiver, I think, in Jason Sullivan, and Sullivan has that tremendous leaping ability, 6'1", 167-pound senior, and he went out there, and that time just a little bit too high, but we're going to see a lot of passes like that this evening.
2nd and 10 for the Redskins. 8:49 left in the 1st quarter. Scoreless here at Cobb Stadium. Pete Barker along with Eric Nelson on Channel 16, New England Cablevision. LaPrise now handing to his tailback, I guess Jim Merrifield, but Jim Merrifield finds the going tough. Not much room at all, Eric.
Yeah, they tried to run a little misdirection there. I think they pulled the right guard over to the left side and almost swapped guards. They left a little bit of a hole, but Unfortunately, Merrifield couldn't fight his way through, and a good play by the Thornton defensive lineman.
Pickup of 3 yards. That makes it a 3rd and 7. 3rd and 7 on the 31. Passing situation. That's what Laprise is going to do. Going down the right sideline for Sullivan. Complete. Inside the 10-yard line, down close to the 5. And defending on that play, it appeared to be Bill Susi.
Another incredible pass, this time from Laprise to Sullivan, and that time I thought Sullivan was going to get caught up. He went to the outside, looked like he was making that cut toward the sideline on the last passing play, but he cut back up on the defender, got a little caught up, and Laprise just threw the ball up there and was hoping that Sullivan could run under it, and some great hustle, caught the ball, and Sanford in great field position.
24-yard pickup on the play, and it's a 1st and goal with the ball planted on the 7-yard line of Thornton Academy. Redskins knocking at the door early in the first quarter, and that time that's a mix-up in the play. As Dan Laprise was going to, looked like he wanted to hand off to someone on the left side, and nobody was there, so he just had to eat the ball, Eric.
Yeah, it was either a miscommunication or a naked QB sneak that didn't quite work as he tried rolling out to the left side, but there was nobody there with him, and the defensive ends for Thornton were right there to pick up the play, so no gain for the Redskins.
I guess that's a prime example of how naked a quarterback could be in that situation. Nothing around there whatsoever. All right, 2nd and goal from the 7, rolling to his left. Laprise going into the end zone for Sullivan. Touchdown. Jason Sullivan got in back of the defense. Susi and Dan Gamache were there, but he was able to get in back of the defender. And the Redskins are on the board on a 7-yard pass with 7:06 left in the first quarter, leading at 6-0.
Well, that was a play that was entirely made possible, I think, by Sullivan. And again, his leaping ability and knack to come up with the football. He went in back deep into the end zone. Good coverage by Thornton, but just another fine catch by Sullivan.
And the extra point is good by, who do we have? The extra point was good by the Redskins. And they lead it 7-0. So a drive that started from the 49, their own 49-yard line. Eric and Jeff Pender with the boot. Jeff Pender with the extra point attempt. And we'll be back right after this. Okay, that was Pender, yeah.
Was it Pender?
Pender's 21. Pender's the kicker.
Oh, okay. I thought, all right, Laprise does the kicking off, but he doesn't kick the extra points.
No, so you're going to have the touchdowns down there, right? Or, yeah, whatever.
Let's go right there.
Yeah, okay. Well, no, I've got it, yeah.
7:06, 14-yard pass to Sullivan.
Well, 7-yard pass, wasn't it?
Oh, 7? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
7-yard pass, yeah. 7-yard pass, and then I'll do this too, put it down too. So. Redskins kicking off to Thornton for the 2nd time. This time they were on the board by a score of 7-0, and a return by Bill Susi coming up to the 30, and that's where Thornton will take over.
About an 11-yard return on that play, Pete. I think Coach Pat Connolly has to be very pleased with his team's offensive performance on that first drive, as you said, taking 49 yards, just about right at midfield. They mixed it up well. They were able to do a little bit of run, a little bit of pass, and the pass is what scored for them.
Right, Laprise on that was 2 for 3 for 31 yards in that last 7, the touchdown. And this time a fumble in the backfield. Wait a minute, let's see what, I'm trying to look at the official signal out there. As the Redskins have recovered. A lot of confusion over there on that far side, is that a whole host of Redskins were going after what we thought was a ball carrier, and it turned out to be a loss of, that's a 6-yard loss on that play and a fumble lost. And Sanford obviously coming into this game rather fired up, as we can see so far. Eric is in excellent field position on the 24-yard line with 6:24 to go in the first quarter, already holding a 7-0 lead. Lot of an I formation there. Now a reverse on the pitch, Sullivan, and it was smelled out nicely by the Thornton Academy defense, and Jim Fournier picked it up on the defensive end, picked that up and knocked Sanford for a loss.
Well, one thing that Sanford is doing well, they've done it right once tonight so far, and that's picking up that fumble recovery. Ted Cook, a defensive end, picking up the ball on that play. And that's something we mentioned at the top of the show, that turnovers and mistakes and penalties are going to tell a story in this game. And if Sanford can score here, they'll jump out to a big 14-0 lead and really capitalize on those Thornton mistakes.
Well, that was a 7-yard loss on the play, so now it's 2nd and 17 from the 31. Might change the strategy a little bit, but this time they go to Garner Mees. And he struggles for a couple, 3 yards up the middle.
Mees really impressed me against Chevrolet, Pete. Just 5'9", 169-pound junior, so he's got another year left with the Redskins. But he came on, played particularly well in some spells early in the first half against Chevrolet. Came back in the second half, started the second half, scored a touchdown, and was very, very impressive. And those are the types of plays that they'll run him on, those draw plays, and he's up to the task.
Well, now they face a 3rd and 15. From the 29. This, I have to think, is an obvious passing situation. And Laprise with some play action rolling to his right. A penalty flag is down. The pass is incomplete. Let's see what the penalty was, which is right at the 29. I think it would probably be holding, Eric.
It's too bad because the play...
And it is.
That's the preliminary signal.
So a holding penalty. And they're going to march back, let's see, 10 or 15 on this. It should be 15 yards.
It's too bad because it was away from the play, or at least it was away from where Laprise was scrambling to. He had rolled out to his right, had Dan Smith open in the flat and just threw the ball a little high and just a tad behind him, and Smith wasn't able to come up with it. So after making a good defensive play when Cook came up with a fumble, Sanford has struggled on their second series so far in the game and have in a sense, started to go a little bit backwards due to the penalties and especially that big 7-yard loss on the first play of the drive.
Well, this is the first penalty of the game, and it is 10 yards now for holding, not 15 in that situation. Now it's going to be a 3rd down play again, but this time 3rd and 25 from the 39. So, and I guess Sanford wants a timeout. You really don't have too much choice in this situation, do you, Eric? You've got to, you're not going to try too many fancy plays. 29 yards, you're not going to liable to get 29 yards on a draw play or something like this. And what you want to do, I guess, is just try to get deeper. So if you're going to punt it, you put the opposition in poorer field position.
Yeah, they're at about the 40-yard line right now. And I think one of the things that the coach is talking to the Redskins about now is that we may see some double coverage from Thornton, particularly on Sullivan. Sullivan's been very effective. He's caught 2 passes, 1 for a touchdown already in the first quarter. And if they end up doubling on him, it's obviously going to leave someone else with single coverage, most likely. One of those backs coming out of the backfield or another split end. And I think what they might be trying to do is maybe not try to go for the entire 25, but it would be nice, I think, if they could pick up a good solid 10 yards on this play. That put him down by the 30. Then their punter would be kicking from close to his 40-yard line. He gets off a decent boot. He can put it down to within the 10, 15-yard line and hope the defense can go back to work and then hold the Golden Trojans.
Well, they might want to work on trying a field goal attempt if it was close enough, but
we don't know what kind of I don't know what kind of range their field goal kicker has, but of course that's always a consideration. If they can pick up 15 or even 20 of those 25 yards, they may be within 3-point range.
Sanford High cheerleaders, of course, trying to root their team on. So here it is, a 3rd and 25, a position not enviable, an unenviable position for any football team to be in. And he's going straight back, pass. Now he's just going to let it fly down the middle, and it's incomplete. And I think there's going to be, let's see, are they going to call pass interference on Susie, or are they going to call pass interference on Bob Worley, the Sanford offensive receiver?
It's going to be an interesting call because Worley slipped when he tried to turn around to pick up the pass from Laprise because the pass was underthrown and they both got tangled with each other.
Well, it's going against the Redskins.
It's going to be offensive pass interference.
From the line of scrimmage. Well, TA might refuse it at this point.
Looks like they are because the ball is still spotted near the 39-yard line. I think they had officials going over the Thornton defensive captain, the options that he has, and they're accepting the penalty.
Well, he's going to accept the penalty. Now that's going to be a 15-yarder right there. All the way back into Sanford territory at their own 46. So there's 2 penalties in this game. Sanford's picked up 25 yards, and that's certainly not pleasing to Pat Conley, as they had 1st and 10 on the 24-yard line of TA, and the Golden Trojans have benefited by this. Now the Redskins will have to punt on 4th down and 40. Going from 1st and 10 to 4th and 40, sort of destructive. Sullivan taking the snap, and he'll boot it away, and he shanks it. Shanks it off his foot, Eric, and it goes out of bounds at about the TA 42-43, so not a good punt whatsoever.
Fortunately for Sullivan, at least he got a little bit of a bounce, and he was able to pick up a few more yards from it, but it's weird. We've had 2 very different drives for the Redskins in this game. Their first series extremely well, 49 yards for a touchdown. That last one ended up losing about 30 yards in the exchange.
About a 12-yard punt for Jason Sullivan. Certainly something he wishes he could take back, because he really didn't look under pressure. Scott Seacard over the ball, the center for the Taunton Academy Golden Trojans. Pitch back goes to Terrell, and he's stuffed back at the 40-yard line.
Well, that happened to be an extremely good play that time by one of the Sanford defenders. Jason McCann just happened to get blocked on the play, rolled over, and actually had the Thornton man run into him and fell over him. So fortunate circumstance for Sanford.
A loss of 2 yards on the play, a 2nd and 12. Redskins have 3 men playing up now. Pass complete to Thayer Redmond over on the right side. TA's first passing attempt of the game, with 3:58 left in the first quarter, and they pick up 5 on the play.
Well, just one of those quick out passes where that man out in the slot formation will just come out and hook in just a little bit. Just a quick 5-yard pass, but I think the defensive backs were playing a little bit back and didn't expect him to hook in, and therefore they get the easy completion.
Well, they've got a 3rd down and 7 from the 45-yard line of the Taunton Academy Golden Trojans. TA with the ball. Susie being chased out of the pocket by Ted Cook, and he's finally going to be brought down by Ted Cook. And unfortunately, did I see a yellow flag go down? Well, it's not. It's going to be clipping against Taunton Academy, so Cook comes up with a sack. Actually, I guess, yeah, he comes up with the play, which would probably go for a loss of about 1. And with that ball in, actually 5-yard loss on the sack, and the penalty to boot.
Yeah, Cook was unmolested, Pete, as he came through that line. If he was touched, it wasn't much. He came straight at the quarterback and really just flushed him out of the pocket, and it changed the entire rhythm of the play. Susie really had no place to go, and then he had Gauthier pursuing him from another angle, and just a good defensive play by Sanford, and you can see where the defensive pressure that time caused Thornton to make a mistake with the clipping. Without that defensive pressure, you don't have that clipping. They've got tremendous pressure coming from 2 sides at the quarterback, Susie. Someone clips somebody to try to save their quarterback, and it puts them even in a bigger hole. So now they've got a lot of yards. They have to go past the 50 now for a 1st down.
15-yard penalty for clipping, a 3rd and 31. So neither team has made much progress on the last possession. Up the middle for Jeff Sear, and he climbs up, bowls his way through close to the 30-yard line, right around the 29. Picked up 8.
You know, a lot of times I think in a 3rd and long situation like that, particularly after having passed twice, Thornton probably wanted to keep it safe and not want to fumble the football or give up the possibility of an interception, so they kept it on the ground, picked up some decent yardage, and now they'll punt it away.
Well, they've lost 1 fumble and had a sack, so they have not had decent offense yet in this first quarter.
Oh.
And a kick away by Susie coming down to Laprise in decent field position at the Redskins' 49-yard line.
Well, that time they decided to go for the block. They had 10 men on the line. They rushed. realizing that Thornton was deep in their own territory. Laprise was back there, took the fair catch at the 49, and again, Sanford with excellent field position. They have had good field position on all three of their offensive series, and they scored on the first one, but had their trouble on the second.
2:29 to go in the first quarter. Sanford up 7-0. That's Mees with the Mees with the football, and there was a fumble, and Thornton Academy has recovered. It was a 1-yard pickup, but a lost fumble.
Now, Mees went right into the line and didn't have a lot of running room, and it looked from here that just got a good pop from one of the defensive linemen, and that's one of the cases where if a helmet's going to hit the ball, it's going to make it pop loose, so you run into a shoulder pad, and he just couldn't hold on, so Sanford gives the ball away.
Well, each team has fumbled once in this football game. So Thornton Academy with the ball at midfield. Susie wants to go down the middle and deep on the first play, and incomplete. The man I guess it was intended for was Dave Seacard.
Seacard was
number
wide
30.
open, Pete. They had two receivers over in that right side of the field, the open side of the field, and they shot one player across the middle, and he picked up one of the linebackers, but some miscommunication over on the left side of the Sanford defense, and Seacard just broke loose, and fortunately for Sanford, Susie's pass was long.
All right, there wasn't anybody near there. I thought he might have gotten held up, but as you say, he broke loose, and so the first down pass goes awry. In motion, Seacard again to the right. Susie this time mixed play again.
Again, some type of miscommunication. The tailback that came through the play, came through the line, didn't take the football, and Susie found himself really had no place to go with it and really just falling the football. A good penetration by linebacker John Smith on that play. He ended up making the tackle. But we're seeing a lot of mental mistakes by both teams early on.
Redskins up 7-0. But other than that, it's been a mistake-filled game as Susie goes back to pass down over on the right side and incomplete. There were two receivers over there. This time he just overthrew it on a 3rd and 13.
And they had Ryan O'Connell, who had a chance to pick that ball off. Made a nice leap in the backfield. There you see Ryan right there, number 17, just saying, just inches away from my hands. But actually, if they get a decent run back here, they're going to probably have a little better field position than they would have if they had intercepted the pass.
So the Redskins survived the fumble, as did Thornton Academy. And the Golden Trojans will have to do the punting. And get that away. A high boot by Susie. Goes down, and the Redskins will take it over in fairly decent field position again. Well, actually, they'll start from their 35-yard line with 1:11 to go in the first quarter. Sanford up 7-0 over TA here at Cobb Stadium in Sanford. And the crowd at the beginning wasn't too large, but they have slowly filed in for one of these York County rivalries. As a matter of fact, Sanford will have 3 York County rivalries the next 3 weeks. Next 2 weeks, they've got Massabesic here. Of course, Massabesic, one of the new teams, along with Noble, that Sanford will also play later in Class A football. They'll have them here on Friday, homecoming, October 2nd, October 9th at Bedford. So the 3 York County people in a row. And then on the 23rd, there'll be Noble here. As Mees carries maybe 2 yards on the play.
Lance Lavoie on the tackle for Thornton. But after a good initial drive by Sanford, neither team has really been able to generate a whole lot of offense. They've both stuttered. They've either been stopped via the penalty or by a turnover. And I know that right now, if Sanford can reel off a nice 65-yard drive here and go up 14-0, they'll be in command.
Sanford has right now 16 yards rushing and 31 passing. And the rushing total, not much added on that one, Eric.
Hell, again, the Golden Trojans are getting a lot of pressure defensively, particularly from their line. They're just getting a good thrust off the snap, and they're able to break through a couple of the Sanford offensive linemen in that time. just really no running room for Sanford, and they haven't had a lot of running room early on. They were able to run a little bit against Chevrolet, but today the running game has been stopped, and they've really been successful mostly through the pass.
Well, that should be the end of the first quarter here at Cobb Stadium, and it is, as the teams headed back upfield to change positions. Sanford 7, Thornton Academy nothing. Back here at Cobb Stadium, Pete Barker along with Eric Nelson. Sanford 7, Thornton Academy nothing, as the Redskins now with a 3rd and 8 on their 37-yard line as the second quarter begins. Dan Laprise under some pressure gets the pass off, and Thornton says they intercepted it, and they did. Looked like the thief over there was Jason Lee.
Intended for McCann, but he had double coverage, and that time Laprise was under a lot of pressure. He rolled out to his right. They had sent Worley out into the flat along the right sideline, and just got a lot of pressure from that defensive line. It caused a mistake.
Well, at the 43-yard line of Sanford now, Thornton Academy in a good position. And I guess the ball was bobbled over on that side, and no gain on the play, or very little, if any, gain on that play over there. Give him 1 yard.
I think both teams have been lucky early on that this is a game that could be a lot higher scoring than it already is with the amount of turnovers we've seen.
Well, because of the lost yardage, Thornton Academy only had 3 yards rushing in that first quarter because of and 5 yards passing, so things hadn't worked out too well. Susi handling the ball, getting a nice little hole. He comes down across the 35 as he found some room to run.
That option play is extremely difficult to defense, Pete. It takes a lot of practice, and a lot of teams don't run that type. A lot of teams will run the option out of a wishbone formation, and you really have to have your defensive players schooled in that type of play. And Susi, I think, is obviously a quarterback who's run the option, was able to see the hole, and instead of pitching, took it up and made a nice gain.
Well, at the ball at the 34. 3rd and a yard to go for Thornton Academy. Handoff going to Jeff Sear. The first man through. Sear gets knocked out. He picks up the first down and more.
Well, they decided to run to the short side of the field, which they haven't been doing. They run mostly up the gut into the open side of the field, and they ran to the right side this time, the closed sideline, and that defensive end for Sanford just got knocked in on the play, just opened up a big hole on the right side, and big gain for Sear.
Actually, we can give Sear 11 yards on that play because the ball's down really close. It's on the 23, so a big first down play for Thornton Academy after intercepting the pass. There goes Scott Terrell, finding a hole up the middle and then finding more after he bounces off somebody down around the 10-yard line. So that's a pickup of about 14 yards, depending on where they spot the ball. 13 or 14 yards. They're going to spot it at the 11.
Now Thornton,
so it's 12 yards.
Thornton starting to string some good offensive plays together. That time they just doubled up on the left end. Ted Cook had a double team block on him. It opened up a little bit of that inside part of the line, and that's where the running back was able to explode through.
And goes Sear, bullying his way through. Boy, holes plenty on that side. As Sear goes from the 11 down to about the 2. Now it's on the 3. So that's for Sear, it's an 8-yard pickup. And that would make it about 2nd and 2.
He's gained a bunch of yardage on this particular drive. They've found something offensively, and I would not be surprised to see Thornton keep it on the ground. They've had great success the last 3 plays.
Might as well. You've got, they're going off the side, and he stopped, is Terrell. Scott Terrell was stopped as he tried to go through that side, and as a matter of fact, might have lost a yard on the play.
Cody and Watkins in on the play that time, just made a nice stand right at the line of scrimmage, and sending a message to Thornton, if you're going to run at us, you're going to have to earn it.
All right, a loss of a yard on that play, so now we've got a 3rd down and 3 from the 4-yard line, as the Redskins trying to make a defensive stand here. They're holding on to a 7-0 lead, 8:36 to go in the first half. They scored with 7:06 to go in the first quarter, and off the, trying to get off that left side of their offensive line. Maybe 2 yards on that play. Do you see who the ball carrier was, Eric, on that? It was lost in the confusion.
But it was a crucial play, a 3rd and 3, and you have to understand that it's not a 3rd and goal situation, so they can still make a first down without scoring a touchdown. I think it'll bring them down to about the 1 or 1.5 yard line, and Sanford has made a good defensive stand. And now if you're Thornton, you've got to be thinking what kind of play are you going to run here? You're going to settle for what could be an easy 3 points in the situation, or are you going to try for the first down, or are you going to try for the touchdown? It's a big junction in this game with about 8:20 left, and Sanford up by 7 points. If they miss it here, don't get the first down, or don't score, it's a tremendous lift for Sanford, and you've got to know that you talk about momentum, it would be on Sanford's side if they can't make it. So in essence, what it comes down to is it's a very crucial point of the game right here.
Even as early as it is, because this could turn out to be a low-scoring game. But call it a 4. That was a 1 yard. Let's call it a 4th. Actually, I'd say it is not a 4th and goal. It's actually a 4th and 1 to pick up the first down is what it really is, with the ball on the 2. And let's see if they pick up the first down.
It's close.
It's close, because that's what they're looking for. They were not looking to get into the end zone. That was Susie Carrion, I believe. And they're probably going to have a measurement. Let's see if they're going to call for one. They're at the one.
Well, defensively,
Tough to tell from here where that ball is located because of
from our angle, it's very difficult to tell.
It always gets tough down in there.
There's a second camera,
and they held him.
Boy, and you can see, you can't quite see how much they didn't make it by, but it wasn't by much, and a great stand by the Sanford defense. They really deserve a round of applause. That was a good defensive series for the Redskins.
Well, now, of course, you don't want to make any mistakes because you got a 1st and 10 with the ball inside the 2. Let's put it that way. They're saying it's on the 2, and that's actually essentially where it is, because TA did not get to the 1 to pick up the first down. So the ball is just right around the 2-yard line. And let's see if Thornton hits harder against Sanford, and what Dan Laprise does as the quarterback. His hand straight off, and actually over a hole over the left side of his line, and some decent running room there by Jason McCann.
Yeah, McCann picked up some good yardage. Got good movement from the left part of that line, from the center on, really from Dave LeBrecq and Jim Underwood, who's playing over on that left side. And just a good hole opening up Mike Foisey out there, and McCann had some good running room.
6 yards on the play, so that gives Sanford some breathing room out to around the 8-yard line. And now they're trying to get up closer to the 10.
Well, again, I think they ran the same play that time, Pete, and Thornton a little more ready for it, didn't give up as much yardage. But they got fairly decent first down yardage, and it's going to put them into a 3rd and short situation, and you would have to feel that they're going to keep the ball on the ground.
At about a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, the ball is close to the 10-yard line. If they don't get it, of course, they're going to have to be forced to punt. Laprise, I think Laprise kept himself. Yes, he did. Couldn't have handed off to anybody the way that play went. They just look like, yes, Laprise kept himself, and he, well, let's see, did he make the first down or not? The ball's up over the 10.
You know, they stacked the line on that play. They brought Smith up to play a tight end position on the left side of the line, and they just had enough of a thrust that Laprise was just going to follow whatever kind of blocking he had and went right behind the center, Lebrecq, and it's going to be another close measurement.
Laprise looked like he was doing a little maintenance work with his helmet down there. If not, of course, they'll have to punt, and let's see what happens here, whether he picked up the first down or not, and they did. He did, so we'll give Laprise about, I guess we can give him a yard on that play to pick up the first down.
They made it by about the length of the football, so they have a first down. It gives them a little more breathing room, and I wouldn't be surprised here, maybe if they get themselves into a second and long or a third and long situation again, to look for Sullivan, the combination that worked in the first quarter.
6:24 and counting, 6:17 now left to go in the second quarter. Sanford still retains its 7-0 lead that they got with 7:06 left in the first quarter. 7-yard pass from Dan Laprise to Jason Sullivan. And we didn't have much going on that play.
Well, quick give there, and the left side of that Thornton defensive line just came in and ate up McCann right at the line of scrimmage. Actually, a loss of about a yard on the play.
That it was. You've got to be careful down here too, haven't you, Eric? Because to play, it's sort of somewhat conservative, but then I was also thinking that this is the type of places where you get those 90-yard runs on a surprise quick opener or a surprise quick pass over the middle that somebody just outraces the secondary or the defense. And a penalty flag going up as Sullivan goes over, and they stopped as soon as he never got tackled. I think they knew what had happened over there. That's going to be a penalty on Sanford, legal offsides, what have you. Somebody just didn't do the thing right over there, and that's going to cost them 5.
Seems to think it's illegal motion, and they're backing the ball off 5 yards. So.
Well, that's what it was, right?
Sanford really has to get in this game mentally and start bearing down a little bit. They've had times where they've shown us. So they showed us in the first period when they scored that touchdown with 7:06 left that they can execute offensively against this ball club. But just one thing or another, just little things that have pecked away at them and have kept them from really continuing a drive.
That was a 49-yard drive that got that TD, but other than that, they had the ball in the 24, and the 2 penalties put them back. Now a second down. Now Laprise just throws it up down the side, and what are we going to have here? Bob Worley down. I think he's going to call, he was being bumped, pass interference on Eric Holt. That's what it's going to be, because that was just a basic fly pattern right, Eric, down the left sideline. Laprise just threw that ball up for grabs.
He really did.
Is what it was.
And that's the type of play where, I don't know if Laprise had it in his mind, but that's the type of play that you're going to see a lot of offensive pass or defensive pass interference on, because when the ball is floating like that in the air, sometimes receivers have to adjust their patterns, and that's exactly what Worley had to do in that situation. Had to come back a little bit, and Holt, who was not looking at the ball but following the receiver, but obviously couldn't stop in time, just ran right into Worley and caused the interference. So it's a smart play in that respect. It's a risky play when you throw the ball up like that in the air. It's up for grabs, but for Sanford, it fell their way.
And of course, the foul marked off from the line of scrimmage, which in this case was the 5. It's still 15 yards on Thornton Academy and an automatic first down. So that's what the Redskins wanted out of it. That was a second down play and long. Handoff. That's looks like McCann. It is Jason McCann.
Boy, that left side of the line again seems to be the strong point this evening for Sanford offensively. The left side has really been able to do a job. They're sealing off those interior linemen for Thornton, and that time McCann was able to break through, and he had another nice run back a couple plays ago. So they've been trying to exploit the left side of that line.
Give him a 5-yard pickup. Thornton, by the way, has 2 penalties for 30 yards, 2 15-yarders in this game. Again, McCann, this time he picks up, even though he was hit and was being grabbed by the ankles and everything else, he did pick up 4 yards at least.
That's a good piece of running by Jason McCann. The key to a running back, if you're going to get popped keep your head down, keep low to the ground, and keep your feet moving. He did exactly that. He rubbed off one tackle right at the line of scrimmage. Tremendous second effort, and was able to get Sanford into what is a very good situation. With 3rd and 1, you really got the Thornton defense guessing, are they going to pass here or are they going to run? At least in a 3rd and long, Pete, they more have a tendency to guess pass. Here they don't know.
3rd and 1 from the 30. Laprise going to keep. Laprise picks up the first down and more as he gets it out close to the 35-yard line. I'll give him 4 yards on that play. So Laprise on the keeper.
Good little bit of misdirection. Laprise on the good fake, took a step toward his right, got a couple of the defensive players to bite. They take a step to their left. That leaves open a little bit of hole for Laprise. He was able to exploit it through the left side. So a good play by Laprise.
Those misdirection or counter plays or whatever, somebody's going to be, you can never take a risk. The defense can never take a risk, right? That
they've got to stay home as long as they can.
It's what it is in the football game, is making the defense stay home when you're on offense. Right there, they came in and stayed home, got home early, I think.
Yeah, they had good penetration. Gary Labby came in, made a nice tackle in the backfield, but I tell you, it's almost been even Steven at times. It seems like the Sanford offensive line has had the advantage over the Thornton defensive line, but then when you come back in a play like that, Gary Labby, good individual effort, broke through the left side of that line and was able to come up with the tackle.
Jim Merrifield, the ball carrier on that play, a loss of 2 yards. Make it 2nd and 12. Ball back on the 32, and another flag goes up before that play even gets started, before the snap of the ball. And we've got a penalty on the Redskins, I'm sure, the way they're talking to TA.
Well, usually they'll stop an offensive play like that in the middle of it. If it's a defensive penalty, they usually let the play run out to see what the offense can pick up on it. But we have yet to see any official indication. Now Pat Connolly is being told what's happening.
Appears to be Earl Goodwin who's talking with him. And so 5 yards on the Redskins.
And now Ralston will come in. Ralston had tried to make it in before that play, but it was just a tad late. I don't know if that caused any confusion on Sanford's part, but he came streaking off the field right before the snap. But in any event, it's a penalty, and Sanford really can't afford to have that happen.
Well, we've got Worley wide right. Sullivan on the wing, both going out for passes is Laprise, and he winds up hitting
Great catch.
Bob Worley. What a catch by Bob Worley over there on the far sideline, up by the 39-yard line. And that was complete.
We've got some talented split ends and wide receivers for this Sanford club. We've seen Sullivan make a good catch already in this game, Worley. And the toughest thing for a receiver is concentration. You've got to jump in the air. You know that you're going to get hit, and you're going to get hit hard. But Worley held on to the football, and a good play by Laprise. He had Scott Newman, who had come around from his right end position unmolested, but Laprise stayed in the pocket. Good pickup for the Redskins.
Pick up about 12 yards on that play, making it 3rd and 6 from the 39. Freeze wants to pass again, but he'll never get a chance. He is not only sacked, the ball is loose, and it's a fumble recovery. Boy, they really unloaded on him that time. A fumble recovery for the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans. The sack would have been bad enough, but to boot, with 1:24 remaining in the first half, Eric, fumble, and the Redskins lose that one.
Well, they came blitzing on that play, and Laprise really couldn't go anywhere. But it's a big turnover this late in the first half. Excellent scoring opportunity for Thornton.
Back at the 34, so they lost 5 yards on that. There goes a pass floating up in the air, and Jason Sullivan intercepts it and is hauled down by the intended receiver on that play, Dave Seacard, right around the 5-yard line. So one turnover leads to another.
Sullivan's a little shaken up, but he made a good defensive play. He was backpedaling the whole way, had a view of the play, which was nice, an advantage as far as he was concerned, because he saw the football coming. He was able to avoid that pass interference, which we saw Thornton get into a problem back up near midfield. He was able to pick off the pass. Tell you, we see an all-state receiver and almost an all-state defensive back.
Well, that pass, Susie threw it the same way basically Laprise had thrown the one for Sanford, throwing it up for grabs, and as you said, that time it proved to be dangerous. 50 seconds left. The Redskins have called a timeout to get themselves squared away, and the ball is down on the 5-yard line. They've really got to be careful here. They don't want to make any mistakes, as McCann loses maybe 2 yards on the play. Boy, he was pursued the moment he got the football going. Looked like a sweep to the right.
Well, the key here is just to hold on to the football, as it looks like another timeout has been called.
Trying to... Well, Pat Conley,
I would assume
coach of the Redskins, want to take things. Sorry.
I didn't mean to step on you, Pete.
No
I would
problem.
assume that the Thornton coach was the coach to call a timeout. I can't see really why Pat Connolly would want to stop the clock in this situation. We have just over half a minute, 33 seconds. Is just sit on the ball and let's get into halftime.
Well, I guess he had him to use, but you're probably right. Because TA is going to try to strip the ball any way they can in this situation. You've got 33 seconds to go. Sanford leading 7-0. Big defensive play of this game was stopping TA shy of that first down sneak by Susie between the 1 and the 2 yard line.
Big defensive stand when they had them 1st and 10 from about the 11, and
yes, they
were
did.
able to
After
hold.
they just drove the runs of they had a 8-yard run in that particular situation and a 12-yard run, 11-yard run to get down there after not having much offense. But mistakes have been a good part of the story in this first half. Laprise just went down on one. He got up so quickly you couldn't tell, but I saw him dip down. Laprise just dipped down and probably took a 1-yard loss on that play, I would suspect. They're going backwards here, technically, but either that or no gain. It doesn't really make any difference because they used up another 11 seconds or 9 seconds on the play, so I guess no gain on the play. No, there wasn't a yard loss on that play.
So obviously Thornton wants one more try at the football. What they want to do, of course, in this situation with 24 seconds left, and now we're talking 3rd down and 12, they want to force Sanford right now into a punting situation, and of course hoping that they'll be able to come back with a good run back, or at least a fair catch, and maybe get one more play off before the half ends.
We have the Sanford High cheerleaders who are out in the cold.
Yeah. See, we have Bridget, Donna, Amy, Jen, Tracy, Amy, Allison, Jenny, and Tina, I believe. And there's one girl who you can see kneeling there. We can't see the back of her box, but those are the cheerleaders, and that is Pam. Yes, Pam standing proud and tall there. Sanford cheerleaders. I tell you, they have to be cold, Pete.
I don't know. I don't know if they even think about it. Maybe so much younger than we are.
You had to say it, didn't you?
I had to say that. It's not quite true, but, well, in my case it is. We won't go any further. I think, let me put it this way. If they're not feeling it now, later on they'll realize they were out of the cold. Sometimes it gets you about an hour or two later when you say, boy, well, time ran out while we were talking about that. And the Redskins were able to survive and were able to come out of this halftime with a 7-0 lead over the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans. So 7-0 as Sanford scored with 7:06 to go in the first quarter. Jason Sullivan, a 7-yard touchdown reception from Dan Laprise. So with Sanford leading it 7-0 over Thornton Academy, we'll be back for the second half and some statistics right after this. Back here at Cobb Stadium in Sanford, the Sanford Redskins on a cool night for Western Maine Class A football, leading the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans by the score of 7-0. And Eric, I had mentioned, I think earlier, that it was somewhat of a raggedy game out there by both clubs.
Offensively, I think both teams have had their problems, especially Thornton, I think, has had problems getting into any type of offensive rhythm. It seems like they've had some success. They had some good success in Sanford territory in the second period. They're able to string 3 or 4 nice running plays together. They picked up some good yardage and got down into a good field position. They were down on the Sanford 11. That was really the only time that Thornton had good rhythm offensively. Other times they seemed to be sputtering. They would be running when they really couldn't run. They'd be passing and they weren't having much success with it. But that key offensive spurt for Thornton ended up turning to be the key point in the game, because what happened later in that drive, first and 10 from the Sanford 11, and Sanford held them on what ended up being 3 very good defensive plays. The last 3 plays of that particular series, where they were able to hold him on 2nd and short, 3rd and short, and 4th and short when they were within a couple of yards of the goal line. So up to this point, I think that's been the key point of the game, was that defensive stand by Sanford.
Right, I would agree with you. And in that interesting thing for rushing for Thornton Academy, due to a sack and 3 other plays for minus yards, they had 1 yard rushing in the first quarter. They had 50 yards rushing in the second quarter, most on that drive, but it went for naught. So 51 yards rushing for Thornton and only 1 for 4 for 5 yards passing and 1 interception. So the passing game, with a couple of receivers they've got, has not gotten there yet. Sanford, you couldn't say really has shined that much on offense either because of minus yardage. 29 yards total team rushing. Dan Lepre's 2 for 5 with a touchdown of 43 yards passing, but 31 of those yards went to Jason Sullivan, including that 7-yard touchdown pass with 7:06 to go in the first quarter. And I think Jason Sullivan, because of his leaping ability, has made a difference in this game because of those 2 catches and that interception.
I think he has made a difference in the first half of the game, and I think one thing that Sanford, I think, can do in the second half and be successful in doing it is trying to exploit Sullivan a little bit more. I've noticed on a lot of plays, when they're sending Sullivan in motion offensively, when he's cutting across the back of that offensive line, a lot of times teams, when they're keying on an offensive player, will send someone to shadow the offensive player. No one was moving with Jason Sullivan. He was running free in the backfield as far as moving in motion back and forth behind the line. And if they double teamed him, it was very infrequent in the first half. And I think that one thing that Sanford can do in the second half is try to exploit Sullivan's ability at wide receiver.
Well, that's something that was done last year and has been done, I guess, this year. I think Sanford at times has been accused of not being able to have much of a rushing game. In certain games this year they have not. So maybe, but you have somebody like Jason Sullivan that is, as you just said, if somebody doesn't come out after him, and he's going to be tough to beat. You know, if you're going to put single coverage on him, you're going to have a problem. And why not go with what you have? You can't go to him all the time, but I think you also, on the other side, have someone like Bob Worley, who was interfered with on a passing and also caught 1 pass for 12 yards. Now, if I'm a coach and I send Worley, if I'm a defensive on the defensive team and I see Worley and Sullivan going down, what am I going to do? Somebody's going to be. If I go if I've got single coverage on them, the defense is hurting. But you know, the loss of Jeff Lapierre this year hurt their depth in the backfield. Jim Merrifield's done one whale of a job.
Merrifield had a great game against Chevrolet.
And the problem is he's got to go 2 ways, and with Jeff there, one would have rested with the other. And that's just the way it goes with the knee injuries. They strike down in the lower levels of football just like they do in the upper levels. And we don't want to use the word strike, though.
No. What strike?
No, none of that. What strike? There's not going to be one October 4th. Bob Bly is going to be the quarterback. I know you'll be there to report on it firsthand.
Patriots and Redskins, right?
Oh, no, Browns this time.
Browns.
Browns would have been the Patriots and Redskins. Speaking of that, Thornton Academy's uniforms do remind one somewhat of the Washington Redskins, don't they?
And the USC Trojans also.
That's right. That's right. Now the Trojans, Golden Trojans.
Golden Trojans.
They are golden, are out here. But Sanford leading it 7-0. But I would agree with you going back and that defensive play really uplifted Sanford. That was something that they had to have. And also, they made another defensive play. But that stand, you've got to make a stand like that. You don't want to make 3 or 4 stands like that in a game. You don't want to be put in a position like that. But This game obviously is far from over. It's just like they thought it would be, pretty close. We'll be back with the start of the second half right after this. Trojans.
That was good. We like to do those halftime shows, you know.
Well, that's not bad, because I had said something about, you said the same thing I did, but over there on the radio, that I thought that stand was a big uplift. That's
Yeah.
why I repeated it. I think
Yeah,
it is.
I think it was. Yeah, I definitely think it was.
It definitely has to be the big thing on that.
You know, they come down quickly and they score. They make it 7-7, and then
you're in a battle for survival. Then you get a bad break.
right. Yeah, that's But offensively, they just can't keep making those mistakes, and I think both teams are guilty of it. They've made too many mental errors offensively.
We did, as I said originally, Bob said something to me when he came in. He said, is there a big difference? And I said, yeah. I said, big. No. You just, the thing is, you've seen, you have the ability to do. I mean, and I can tell. The difference is you can pick me up right off the thing, and all I have to worry about is I'm going through the hole. Well, you can explain further. I don't have to explain the whole thing.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anything against it. It's just, as I told you before, it's tough. Unless you're a student of the game like you are.
Yeah. It is difficult,
You've written it and you broadcast it for, 5 years?
Yeah.
Sure, it's difficult. I mean, that's why you sympathize with people, because there's things you're doing that I might not pick up myself. Like the guys saying, well, you're known as a knowledgeable. There's certain things that I don't even look for that I should, but, I think what known as enthusiasm.
Ready?
They're still warming up, Rich. We can relax. You want us to go back?
Get ready.
We're ready.
Ready? We'll talk about.
Shut you down now.
Okay. Nice guy.
He was ready for you, but
Well, the trouble is, we can talk about the upcoming schedule. That's about all we got left now.
how about plugging County Road?
Yeah, how about that? You want to plug it? That's your baby, Pony Roads.
Yeah, I'll gab. Yeah. What the heck?
Plug it for him, say that he works on the show.
Then he can explain what it is.
Yeah, maybe we can lead in and let him
Okay, maybe I can do that. What is that, Sunday night at 6:30?
Yeah. Have to do it quick, though, if we're going to do it there.
Well, we can do it if we... Yeah. Ready now, whenever. Just about ready for second half action here with Sanford leading Thornton Academy 7-0 at Cobb Stadium in Sanford. And along with high school football on Channel 16, you can also watch a show called County Roads, Eric. I understand you know something about that.
Yeah, I'm rather intimate with that show, I suppose you could say. It's a show that I've been involved with since the start with producer Bob Gould and, of course, Richard Gould, his brother, who's done a lot of camera work on the production of the show. What it is a show that essentially goes around the coast of Maine, stays mostly in York County, and covers different interesting, almost cultural things that happened throughout the York County area, and it's shown every Sunday at 6:30 on New England Cablevision. And I think it's come a long way since the first show. We're in the middle of season number 2. Just taped a second show a few days ago. But if you get a chance to drop in, I think it's a pretty interesting show. You'll find out about some interesting people, places, and things across Maine. I'm pretty proud of it.
Well, I'm glad, and of course that would precede, I guess, some of these football telecasts, so somebody can sit back on a Sunday evening and by the fire and relax.
Just hope they don't get sick of me after half an hour.
Wait a minute, I just heard that guy an hour ago. Well, it should be an interesting second half. We do want to mention upcoming telecasts and games for the Sanford Redskins. Massapequa comes in here this Friday, October 2nd for a 7:30 game. The Massapequa Mustangs, of course, fresh into the SMAA, Class A football, and they've had it tough going so far this season. They've been competitive. They've had a bad quarter. They're short in numbers, one of the smallest squads they've had in recent years, but I still expect a pretty good game, and it's going to be homecoming for Sanford High School. That ought to be a decent crowd out here, and the furthest anybody really has to come is 20 minutes drive, so come on out here on Friday and then watch it later And speaking of the Devils,
Scouting.
I think some of those people are going to be playing on this field next week. I just have a feeling that those are members of the Massabesic Mustangs. They just remind you of that, don't they, with the green and white? And then Sanford at Biddeford the following week, and the second half kickoff taken by Bob Worley, who tries to get his way through the jungle down there and doesn't really get too far at all.
Well, it's time for Sanford to buckle down here and play some good offensive football. They had a couple of really nice drives. First time they touched the football, 49-yard drive for a touchdown midway through the first period. But since then, through one misfortunate play or another, just offensive mistake, mental mistake on their part, their drives have been stalled. And what you want to see now is a nice, clean, mistake-free drive.
As they take over on their 33-yard line to start the third quarter here at Cobb Stadium, and right off the bat, poor left tackle, I believe it was. Well, we'll find out who it was.
Looks like the guard, Jim Underwood.
Left guard, right. Jim Underwood, right. You at the guard position, and he was hitting himself on the helmet. He was so disgusted. I guess he just missed the count.
You have to feel they're awfully anxious out there, especially at the start of the second half. It's a close ball game, 7-0. The next score is a big score. It either ties the ball game or it puts Sanford up by 2 touchdowns. And they're anxious, and it's understandable, but it's something you don't want to see happen.
Well, that's Sanford's 6th penalty for 35 yards in this game, and certainly something Pat Conley doesn't want to get too many more of. Thornton still has 2 penalties, 2 15-yarders for 30 yards.
Oh.
And they get 5 yards going back, and that time Labby, Mr. Labby going in there on Mr. McCann and knocking him down for another 5-yard loss. Back to about the 25.
Excuse me, Pete. Labby just broke through there right over Paul LaRue, the right tackle. The successful running plays for Sanford so far through the first half have been to the left side of the line. They haven't had as much luck to the right side.
We're going to call that, I guess, a loss of 2, but Sanford is... Now McCann makes up for that as he comes busting across the 35-yard line, went around the left side of the line and cut in. Or was that Merrifield? Jim Merrifield, okay.
So Merrifield, who had a real good game offensively and defensively against Chevrolet, has put his name in the books, the statistical books tonight, with a nice run there.
About a 10-yarder.
Good pickup on the play, and again, the key is the left side of the line. Underwood and LeBrecq especially have done a good job on the left side of that offensive line for Sanford.
The second longest rush tonight, Sullivan's one, the first one was for 15, was the longest. And that goes Jim Merrifield again.
Oh, great block by McCann, Pete. I don't know if you saw it right at the line of scrimmage. It's really what broke him. McCann made a great block, I think, on Scott Newman that really broke it open for Merrifield. It's so important. If you're going to trap, you've got to have that containment on that side, and he just took away that end.
I was going to say, I bet somebody's going to see him going through there on the drive and say, don't tell me you missed the number on Merrifield. It is not McCann. Oh, that was Jim Merrifield on the second carry, so approximately 17 yards on the last 2 carries, which is bringing Sanford's rushing total up. They have had some problems consistently in this first half, and there's Jason McCann just struggling through the middle. Maybe it depends on the play that's being called, but here again, that's like you pick up 10 or 7 yards, and then you pick up, what, 3 yards on that play.
Now, Fournier and Newman and company on the left side of that defensive line for Thornton have done a good job in really holding that right side of that Sanford line at bay. That time they tried to mix it up after going left 2 plays in a row, try to bring it out to the open side of the field and run on the right. But again, that defensive line for Thornton has done a job on that side.
Merrifield only carried once in that first half, Eric. I don't know if there was what that was going with that, but looked like they may want to use him more. But there's that was a nice fake. Talk about carrying a fake through the middle on McCann, but unfortunately it was Dan Laprise who goes down for the loss.
Well, Lance Lavoie really made a good defensive play, coming, I believe, from his linebacker position just about in the middle of the line. And what happens when you run an option to that side is usually somebody's left unblocked, and if the play doesn't develop quick enough, your quarterback doesn't get a chance to get to the outside. And that's exactly what happened to Laprise on that time, and Lavoie made a good play.
He certainly did. Now the Redskins are back in a 3rd down and 12 situation as Laprise rolling to his right, going down the sideline for Sullivan, batted up in the air by Susie, I believe, and incomplete.
Well, good play by the safety. Susi, the opposing quarterback, came over, tipped the ball away. That time, again, they had single coverage on Jason Sullivan, and it was good coverage by the defensive back. He was able pretty much to stay with Sullivan step by step, gave him quite a few yards at the line, but Susi, coming over from his safety position, was able to bat the ball away.
Sometimes you wonder if on a situation like that, it's easier to go in a crossing pattern or slant in the middle or something instead of going for the downs, as they say, on 3rd and long, but they always say that's the element of surprise too. All right, there's the punt, and he's going backwards is the Thayer Redmond, number 22, but he is getting some running room. That was a wise decision, as he probably, well, I don't know, he might have picked up about 8 yards after what he originally, I
think he ran about 60 on that.
He ran to 60 and picked up 8. He just was not about to head straight up around to his right when he caught that. He just saw a whole bunch of Redskins coming down on him.
It's like planning a trip to Portland and going through Boston, I think. He picked up the yardage. It was a nice kick, by the way, by Sullivan. Nice 30-yard punt.
Well, taking over on the 37, 30-yard punt by Sullivan, and Thornton Academy with the football, and 7:43 to go, 3rd quarter. And not too much, maybe 3 yards into the middle of that Sanford line.
And Scott Terrell on the carry, but a lot of rough going there down by the line of scrimmage near the 40. Oddly enough, does pick up. It turns out to be a good pickup of 3 yards on the play, though. It didn't look like he got much, and that's the type of play. If you've got thrust from your offensive line, it may look like you being hit at the line of scrimmage, but they've got that initial movement. You're already 2 yards past it before you're hit, and that's pretty much what happened that time.
Thornton Academy with a 2nd and 7 on the 40. Susi handing off this time to fullback, St. Jeff Sear. And Sear picks up probably 4 yards on the play before he's brought down.
Now Merrifield again in on the tackle, coming from his linebacking position. And he's impressed me, a kid who does not have a lot of size. He's only 5'7", 159-pound junior, but I'll tell you, he'll stick anybody on defense. He's certainly not afraid.
Well, there's a lot of weightlifting and training that's gone into the summer on him. I know for a fact, and as it has for a number of those players. And now that's Terrell. Was that Scott Terrell going over the 45 to about the 46?
Merrifield again, one of the people in on the tackle. Also McCann gets up from the bottom of the pile.
The key to a defense, key to Thornton's defense, as Dick Agresti says, is the linebackers. That the fact that, well, actually, I guess the front 4, making sure that the linebackers can go out and do their thing and tackle and roam around, because if the front 4 breaks down, the linebackers are going to have to make every tackle, and when you ever see a linebackers or a safety making a tackle, you've got some defensive problems.
Exactly. Those defensive linemen, those front 4, are the 4 players who are really responsible for trying to contain the offensive line of Thornton as much as they can, and by containing that, it leaves your linebackers open to a little more pursuit, and sometimes they're not caught sometimes on trick plays, because if that defensive line can hold the offensive line, it gives them a little more leeway.
All right, they came up a yard short, did Thornton Academy, and Susi back at his own 35 to do the punting. And he gets it away, coming down, and a fumble as now. All right, I guess, so what are they calling on that, Eric?
Well, apparently Mike French called for a fair catch, dropped the ball, and pounced on it. So that's where...
That's the reason why.
That's where Sanford's going to take over, and that turned out to be actually a pretty healthy kick, about 48 yards.
Well, I guess you're right. That was about 48 yards.
38 yards. 38-yard kick.
Okay, a 38-yard kick by Bill Susi. Redskins have the ball first and 10 on their own 17, and are possessing a lead of 7-0 with 5:35 remaining in the 3rd quarter of this Western Maine Class A football clash, a York County clash, been going on for years between Sanford and Thornton Academy, and going for it right away as we had Sullivan racing down the right sideline. And the pass was incomplete, nearly, well, it could have been intercepted by Dan Gamache.
Yeah, Gamache, he was playing back way off the line. He had to be a good 10 yards off the line, and once he saw Sullivan break and realized he wasn't going toward the middle, he just sprinted. And good thing for Sanford, because Laprise threw the ball so far he outthrew the coverage also, because he actually had Gamache closer to the ball than Sullivan was.
All right, and now a second and 10, and a play, and a flag goes down at around the 20-yard line, and that could be a complete bust for the Redskins, who are heading back, and it's going to be a holding penalty on Sanford, which will be marked off from about the 17. Well, that's going to take them back inside the 10.
This has really hurt them offensively. They've played well enough defensively, Pete, to the point where they should have more points on the board, especially considering the mistakes that turnovers and penalties that Thornton has had. But Sanford, we mentioned offensive rhythm at halftime for Thornton, and it's now becoming a problem for Sanford. They will go have a nice series of plays, of 3 or 4 plays, but then they run into the penalty, and it really disturbs anything that you get going offensively.
45 yards in penalty for the Redskins, and 15 in this quarter, so this isn't helping. And down back at the 8-yard line, and a little extracurricular activity up at the 21-yard line, completely away from the ball, as there was a 2-yard pickup on that play. Heaven knows who carried it right now, but
Mike Foisey, the tackle, is going to get called. I believe it's a late hit, or it looked like a late hit. In defense of Foisey, he might not have heard the whistle. That's entirely possible with the play behind you, and you're always taught, keep blocking until you hear the whistle and the play is dead.
Well, now they were talking with with Jason Sullivan. Now they're talking with Gamache, and let's see what the official will signal. We got a holding call on. Now wait a minute.
They're not offsetting penalties.
They're not offsetting penalties.
Apparently one was bigger than the other, so it ends up going
5 yards
Sanford,
back. So
yeah.
Sanford gets another penalty. He did indicate penalties on both teams.
Looks like we had 10 yards one way and 15 the other way.
So they gave it 5, so it's back on the 5-yard line. Sanford, that tack on 5 more to their penalty and put it second down, and a rush on that play by Jason McCann. That was on a 3rd down play, and now the Redskins are going to have to punt the football. So McCann picked up 7 yards on the play.
Again, they continue to have success off the left side of the line. LaRue with a nice block on that play. Also, John Smith with a good block, but they just can't string them together because they've got too many penalties. I really feel that Sanford should have at least one more touchdown in this game, if not more.
I'm sure Pat Conley, the head coach, feels the same way. There's a snap to Sullivan in the end zone, and he gets it off, and he gets a good roll, and it's going to be down at the 41-yard line, which is a lot better than it could have been, I suppose. It could have been around the 21 if it was a poor punt. 3:59 left in the 3rd quarter, and the Redskins defense is going to have to go to work again, Eric.
They're going to be called on. Without a doubt, they're going to have to hold here. They've done a good job so far in the first half. You can't get much better than shutting out a team.
No, but on the offensive end, you can't be pleased if you're certainly pleased if you're Dick Agresti of the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans, and the Golden Trojans well should be pleased. Well, Jeff Sear carrying that time. Sear is the team's leading rusher. Now, Sear picked up 1 yard on that play.
Well, he had a couple of nice runs back earlier in period number 2. He has obviously the
He
majority.
has about 37 yards rushing out of Thornton Academy's total, so he is a leading rusher. Approximate now a play fake as Susie goes way back and complete down there on the left side as the Prees brings down the receiver. Looked like Tom Gonaville.
So that might be the first complete pass for Thornton since way back in the first period.
It certainly is.
Since that little curling pattern they ran earlier, so they haven't gone to the air that much, but they sent 2 people down, same side of the field, were able to complete the pass.
13-yard completion from Susie to Gonaville. Gonaville, a senior end, and this time nothing much, maybe 2 yards on the play. Let's see who gets up from the pile. It looks like Sear did the carrying on that.
And McCann and a host of others there in on the tackle for Sanford, but this defensive line played a crucial role in the win over Chevrolet. They really shut down Chevrolet offensively until almost the final series of the game when Chevrolet had a chance to tie it. So this defensive line is going to be put to the test here with just over 2 minutes left in the third.
Yeah, 2:10, as a matter of fact, to go in the third quarter. With a second down play and the pitch to Gamache. And he's really pursued very heavily over on that far side. Dan LaFreeze was one of the tackles over there.
That's one thing that the Redskins did so well, I thought, against Chevrolet is the fact that they play a team defense. You know what I mean by that is they get tremendous pursuit, not by just 1 player or 2 players, but that time you saw about 4 players in on the tackle. They're a good pursuing football team, and they don't give up.
Well, it's a 3rd and 8. That play did not go for any gain whatsoever. Now it's going to be a 3rd and 8 for the Golden Trojans of Thornton Academy. As we're winding down here in the third quarter, Sanford 7, Thornton Academy nothing here at now a pretty well-attended football game. 2-1 is TA, 1-2 is Sanford. Redskins looking for this win here at home, of course, with Massapisa coming up here next week at Cobb Stadium, or this Friday, we should say, with Susie this time on the option, as you saw, coming in maybe just barely inside the 20. Now, that's not going to be enough for the first down, but it sure puts him in a good position. They give him about 6 yards on that play, Eric.
Was a good pickup. Chris Gauthier in on the tackle for Sanford, but we saw some good protection. And one thing that Gauthier has been protected fairly well, and when he hasn't, he's been able, it's not Gauthier, excuse me, but Susie has been able to scramble, and he showed us a good example of his scrambling abilities there and was able to pick up some yardage from a play where he really didn't have anybody open.
Well, here we go with a 4th and 3 on the 19, and they're not going to make it. They stopped the Golden Trojans on that play, and that, let's see who went, that was Jeff Sear, and he was actually knocked back for a yard loss.
McCann in on the tackle with many others, but when they take a look back at this ball game, if Sanford ends up holding on to their 7-point lead and winning this, they're going to thank their defensive line and their defense as a whole, because they have kept them in this ball game despite the many offensive penalties and problems that the offense has had as far as getting going, with the exception of that very good first period drive.
Well, in the win over Chevrolet, Eric, Sanford was outgained offensively, but they won the ball game here. They've been outgained offensively as we come to the end of the third quarter here at Cobb Stadium in Sanford. And the score, Sanford 7, Thornton Academy nothing. We'll be back for fourth quarter action right after this.
Any clue as to who might be a player of the game? I don't really have a line on anybody yet. No one's really stood out.
Also, I want you to interview Jim Merrifield because we couldn't get him on that last game.
You want to?
All right.
Well, that means you got to interview 2 of them?
Yeah, I'm going to have to interview 2 guys then.
Well, what do you think? What about, nah, you can't say.
Get him on, and I promised I'd get him on this game.
Well, then you're going to have to, well, that's no problem.
All right. Maybe he'll win. Maybe he'll
I don't
win
think,
today.
I would say Sullivan was in contention for that,
Yeah.
but basically when you look at,
You can handle it, all right?
start of the fourth quarter here with Sanford holding a 7-0 lead over the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans at Cobb Stadium, with the Redskins with a first down play.
And it looked like a broken play, Pete, to start off the fourth quarter. Looked like Laprise was trying to hand off to McCann, but that's the second time I think he and McCann have missed an exchange in the backfield. That one didn't click, and Laprise had to eat the football. Ended up actually picking up a yard on the play.
Redskins still being outrushed by TA, but leading at 7-0, which I guess is the important thing. 2 defensive stands that they've had to make. Pitch goes to Jim Merrifield, and on that sweep right, just doesn't go. Is making the final. There were some other hits, but Lance Lavoie was, I guess 45, was making sure he was in there.
Plays that take a long time to develop are extremely difficult to gain yardage on, unless everything goes right and it ends up being run very quickly. The problem there, your back is so far back in the backfield. When he finally gets the ball, it gives the defense time to pursue the football in that direction. And it puts a lot of pressure on your offensive line. If it's blocked well, it's obviously going to work, and he's going to be able to break open. But if it's slow and developing, it's hard to get any yardage out of it.
Well, I got 3rd and long now, 3rd and 12 from the 18. And offense, the Redskins going again. There it goes into, is that Merrifield? And was there a loose football? No, I guess there was not. Well, yes, there was. Disaster striking for the Redskins and happiness for Thornton Academy, as I don't know who kicked the fumble and a loss of, what was it, back at the 6th. Wow, call it at the 14. That ball was at the 18. It's a loss of 4.
Merrifield was hit hard on the play, lost it. There was a big scramble behind the line of scrimmage, and finally the Thornton Academy Golden Trojans came up with the football, and this is probably the best shot they're going to get the rest of the night at a touchdown.
Well, 1st and 10 on the 18, and there we go with Scott Terrell. First man through on the left side.
That was Ted Cook on a good defensive play. Really held on nicely, didn't let go of the runner. Otherwise, could have been a big gain because there was a hole on that left side of the line.
Because of the losses, Sanford in the second half still only has 13 yards rushing, I think, 17 yards rushing in the second half. So still the inconsistency. They go ahead and then get thrown for losses.
Defense has been the story.
There's Susie, and the pass is complete. Dave Sickard.
Well, good play if you're a Thornton Academy fan, because Susie rolled out of the pocket. He is obviously not a drop-back passer. He's been rolling left and right. He rolled right that time. Ted Cook, I really thought Cook was going to get a piece of him, but he just came up short as Susie unleashed the ball, and it was a nice catch. Wide receiver was wide open, and there, knocking on the door.
Well, that was a 7-yard reception, good enough for the 1st and goal from about the 4. And there's Terrell, and he may go down for a loss of a yard or 2. That was a 1st and goal at the 4 after that pass.
Boy, defensively, they really buckle down at times. The Sanford club does. McCann, who's been in on a host of tackles this evening, he's psyched up on the defensive unit. He made a nice tackle on that play. Tell you, they get close and they seem to bear down.
Well, see, mistakes also hurt you on this thing. Obviously, giving TA an opportunity. And how long can you go to the well here, Eric? You made a goal line stand before. Now you got a 2nd down play, and Gamache taking the pitch out, and he's going to go in. Gamache is going to go in from the 5-yard line. That had been a loss of 1 yard on that play, but Gamache goes in.
Perfectly executed option by Susie on that play. He held the ball until the final split second when he absolutely had to get rid of the football. He was hammered. He was hit hard by a Sanford defender, but he pitched it over to Gamache, who just streaked up through the hole in the left side into the end zone for a touchdown. But It's just the way you like to see that option run if you're from Thornton.
8:18 left in the game, and of course what set it up was a Sanford fumble, a mistake, and sooner or later something like that happens in a game that is this close. It just is bound to happen.
You can't keep making that many mistakes and not have a team take advantage of it, and Thornton didn't in the first 3 periods. And finally here, again, Sanford, who has made numerous turnovers tonight, made another one that was very costly, and Thornton was able to drive the ball in.
They've had 1 pass intercepted in might, so they've lost 3 fumbles. Plus they've had 50 yards in penalties. And that's really hurt. That's killed their rhythm.
It's difficult to win a ball game when you have numbers like that. You make 4 turnovers and 50 yards in penalties, and you could really consider yourself lucky to be in a football game. But I think the defense has played so well at crucial points that it's kept them in the contest. And no matter what happens here, they're not going to be trailing by more than a point, and at worst leading by a point.
Well, that's what's prevented their offense from going to a particular thing.
You can call on your defense, Pete, so many times to come up with the big play, and I think the defense has done a fantastic job this evening in doing that. But sooner or later, your offense has got to click, and they've got to score some points for you.
Defensively, Sanford's given up around 100 yards, but that's good. I mean, over 4 quarters type of thing. But offensively, they have barely gotten that, if a little bit less in the turnovers. There's the kick, and it's good by 43. And that was Bill Poirier. So Poirier with a kick, and we're all tied up here at 7-7 with 8:18 to go. And well, as you said, we just couldn't get down for Sanford's situation. Just couldn't get down the well that many times defensively. We'll be back for the final minutes here right after this. Every score, okay.
There've been so few.
There've been so few, yeah. Hey, thanks a lot for every score.
No, it's just, it's awkward, that's all.
It's awkward because of the fun. All right, 8:18 left in this game, and another down to the wire Thornton Academy Sanford and Redskins football game here at Cobb Stadium. Doesn't matter where they play it. You could play it out in the middle of the Mojave Desert and it would still be the same thing. Very rarely have these games been one-sided. They have been, but it's been rare. And there's always been some kind of mistake or type of situation, as Bob Worley, getting some good room on the kickoff return, comes up around his own 40-yard line. I guess the solution here is one thing. Sanford's got to put the ball in the end zone.
That's an understatement.
It's as simple as an understatement.
It doesn't get any simpler than that. This really puts some pressure on the offense. You hate to say it, but they've almost been bailed out by the defense tonight so far, and it's up. I think it's up now to Sanford they've had moments here where they've run some good plays together, and now
they haven't been conservative. Right. They haven't been conservative. It just has been, what do you call it, sputtering because of penalties and fumbles and such. It's been inconsistent. Now Laprise looking all sorts of play action faking, but he's going to keep the ball and he's going to run. He cuts into the middle. He's still cutting. He needs one more block. And he's still going, and he couldn't get past that last man. Dan Laprise going from his own 42. Talk about bringing up your offense and getting a key run. Dan Laprise goes from his own 42 all the way down to where the 27, is it? So he picks up a bundle of yards.
31 yards on the play.
Was that 31 yards for Laprise? And you look at that thing and you say, that's almost doubling the total there.
Eric Holt on the game-saving tackle, or the touchdown-saving tackle for Thornton. But a play where nobody was open and all done by Laprise.
And you can tell, as I said, that one more block in that time, but that is what he did need as he got into the secondary. And now Sanford going straight ahead with who? Jason McCann.
McCann off the right side for a good pickup, an excellent pickup on first down. It's going to be close to a 5-yard gain for the Redskins. Puts them into a good position, 2nd down and 5. They've got a couple of downs now to gain 5 yards. So really it gives them a lot of leeway as to what they can do offensively.
wonder if they're going to go, well, Sullivan wide right, and Worley wide to the left. And they're going to run to the left. And that's, looks like
it's McCann again. So now they're mixing up tempo, it seems to be, a little bit. Before, they were doing a lot of faking, a lot of play action, faking to one back, giving to the second back. That time, McCann, right from his position, took the football right away. He was the first back. They gave it to him, and he was able to pick up some yardage off the left side. So now they're starting to mix up the timing a little bit.
6:30 left in a 7-7 tie as Laprise takes the safety factor and just barrels straight ahead behind the blocking of his center and a couple of other teammates and picks up the first down. No fooling around that time.
Yeah, they wanted the first down. That was the obvious in that situation. So they've got the ball in the 15, and of course you're thinking touchdown in this situation with just under 6:20 left in the game. But of course, each yard that you pick up, you're getting a little closer to field goal range. If they were to kick here, it would be about a 33-yarder. So every yard in this situation is going to help. But of course, the most important thing on their minds is putting the ball in the end zone.
So a 4-yard pickup by Laprise on that, as it turns out. First and 3-yard, let's call it. 1st and 10 from the 16. And there is Jason McCann, and he fumbles the football. He fumbled the football as he got inside the 5, and Thornton Academy recovered.
It was actually Merrifield, Pete.
It was Merrifield that carried the football?
Number 24, who had done a fantastic job finding the holes in the line, but unfortunately fumbles for the second time in the second half. And that is so crucial, Pete. He doesn't fumble, and that ball, it's maybe tough to see from the camera angle, but that ball, Pete, can't be more than 2 or 3 inches away from the goal line.
And I guess you call that as all plus yard. You've got to give Jim, I guess, a big pickup on that play of about 15 yards, but he lost the fumble. Now the key here with 5:28 to go in the game at a 7-7 tie is to force Thornton Academy to punt. But that's the 4th fumble, as you say, and right there, what would it look like? He was just stripped of the ball as he went down?
Looked like he was just hit hard on the side of the football. It's, you get a helmet in there, and it's easy for the ball to pop out, and that's pretty much what happens. It's,
I guess you have to be in the Mosey Tupu mold, who just carries the ball with both hands or something like that. But it's awful tough because fumbles that have set up a touchdown and taken a possible one away. Of course, TA's in a position here where they can't afford to make a mistake, and this thing could go into overtime the way it's going right here. Maybe it deserves to be. I don't know, but
very well could. It's
you know how those are the famous overtimes go. Everybody gets the ball on the 10 and offensive and defensive situation, but we can't anticipate that yet with 5:11 to go.
It's interesting, Pete, to see exactly how Sanford is going to play this defensively. Are they going to be aggressive in this situation, hoping, seeing that the ball is only at about the 2-yard line, that maybe they'll try to get some penetration and maybe even look for the safety, or will they relax, play it back a little bit, and try not to get anything thrown over them?
Well,
yeah, they played it tight to the vest.
They certainly did. And Susie kept the ball and carried it. Susie brought the ball out to around the 7, so a fairly decent.
Well, I think
decent pickup on the play of about maybe 5 yards, somewhere around there.
I think it's almost safe to predict if they can hold them here, they may get the ball one more time to try to win the game.
Well, the way this has gone, I don't know if we can even anticipate that. I think they're going to get the football back. TA doesn't have enough for the first down on that carry.
It's going to be close. The first down marker is just beyond the 10-yard line. They gave it to him. They didn't even measure.
All right, they did give it to him then. It's up on the 11. Okay, a big first down for Sear and his Golden Trojans with 4:24 to go in the game in a 7-7 tie. And again, the carry by the Scott Terrell. No, it was Dan Gamache who carried that ball. Gamache picking up a couple of yards.
Now, the thing that Thornton has to keep in mind, I guess we're down to about 3:40 now left in the game, is they've got a long way to go. They've got about 86, 87 yards to go for a touchdown. So sooner or later, they're going to have to make the decision that they can't keep the ball on the ground anymore, and they're going to finally have to go to the air with the football.
Well, we've got Redmond, Seacad, Gamache they can pass to. And this time it's Terrell running. Terrell coming up to about the 17, 18-yard line.
Well, by keeping the football on the ground, the clock continues to wind down. Of course, when you have, if you can get out of bounds, that will stop the clock. An incompleted pass will stop the clock, or of course a timeout. But the run continues to chew time off, and that's the problem with running. It's tough to catch up when you're running the football, and it's tough to gain a lot of yardage in a short amount of time. So I think sooner or later they're going to have to go to the air.
Well, I think probably Dick Agressi, the head coach of TA, wants to get in a little bit better field position. Now a fake and a handoff, and well, there was a fumble.
Looks like it's going to stay Thornton ball, so they'll be forced into a
well, there
punting.
wasn't a fumble. I guess that was a good loss in the play of a couple of yards.
The clock is moving, so if this punt is handled cleanly and Worley and Laprise are just at midfield, they're going to get just about 2 minutes to put this touchdown across. That's if they can field a punt cleanly.
Ball's on the 15-yard line of Thornton Academy. And there's the snap, and there's the boot, and Worley making a fair catch call, which is very wise because you don't want to take any risk, and Sanford has the ball with 1:52 to play in regulation time, and they have it on their own 46-yard line. So they did make a defensive stand at that point, but of course time was chewed up. But I think you were right. In TA's situation, they didn't make the decision. They wanted to try to get the first down on the ground and then probably go for the deep one, but they never were unable to do it at that point.
You can second guess as long as you want, but it was I think our feeling up here that eventually they were going to go to the pass, but they didn't in that situation, kept the ball on the ground, and then now they're going to rely on their defense to hold Sanford here. Even with 4 downs, it's going to be difficult. Even if Sanford goes 3 and punt, it'll be very difficult for Thornton to score. So really, it's up to Sanford now in their offense. 47 yards to go.
And Laprise going over to his man on the left side. That looked like Carmine Cartonio. That's who it was complete to. We haven't seen the pass thrown to him today.
No, we haven't seen Cartonio that much in the ball game, but it's just enough for a first down, and the clock stops because the chains have to move. The play took up 14 seconds, but a good pickup, and I think now is the time that we're going to see Sullivan exploited.
Well, there we go, and there we see Sullivan exploited as he just raced down the left sideline, and they hit him, but look at the pickup.
Well, there's nobody there, Pete.
No, nobody there.
Defensively, there really wasn't. I think they were maybe looking a little bit deeper, but the surprise part about that play was that Sullivan, who lined up at the line of scrimmage, split wide to the left. All he did was sprint down the sideline. He took about 5 steps, looked, and Laprise hit him, and it's a big pickup.
17 yards on the pickup with the ball at the 18-yard line of 1st and 10. Now, and a penalty on the Redskins. Motion of, going to be a motion penalty in the backfield, and Dan Laprise was not happy about that.
It's really been I hate
5
to
yards.
say it, it's been typical of their evening, Pete. They've been able to put some nice plays together, and then the penalty comes up, and they march back in the other direction.
Well, now it's a 15 rather. 1st and 15. Rolling right as Laprise completes it. Coming across, and it was completed.
John Smith on the reception.
Was that John Smith, the tight end, on a crossing pattern? Or coming across? John Smith, the first time it's been thrown to him tonight. And what a big play with 46 seconds to go, Eric Nelson, down on the 3-yard line. Do you believe this?
Where has this offense been through the last 2 or 3 periods?
I don't know.
I want to know.
That came for the 23, and now where's the ball down to the 3? That's a 20-yard pickup. What a pass play, though. He just came over from the left to the right, as you could see.
You get a defense playing cautious. It opens up holes.
All right, 1st and goal on the 3. There we go inside. Jason McCann, and he's down close to the goal line with 20 seconds to 19, and Sanford calls time. Whoa, it's coming down to the very, very end.
Well, the clock is still running. The clock has not stopped, and
now, finally, there was 20 seconds left when that play ended.
Boy, yeah, that was, Pete. That was a lot of time to run off before the clock was finally stopped.
And the ball's on the 1. McCann carried it down to the 1-yard line. Boy, you always had to feel that a game like this would, so typical of T.A. Sanford games and past history. And it's something that has gone the way of both sides on occasion. Sanford, of course, winning in the final seconds here 2 years ago. And what do you call right now? You've got another one now. When unsure of the timeout situation. That's the thing. I mean, you make a play here and you don't get in, you've got a problem if you don't have another timeout.
If you don't have a timeout, you certainly do have a problem. If they don't have a timeout, what you might see them do is throw to the sideline, and then at least if it's incomplete, they'll probably have 3-4 seconds left. Then again, if they have the timeout, they can run a play. It's tough to run a running play within 10 seconds and still call timeout to set yourself up for a field goal, but
there is that suggestion here in the booth by a certain cameraman that a field goal could be. Obviously, that would be like an extra point attempt at this point. It wouldn't be a.
But I think they'll try to score the touchdown first. So I would assume that Sanford has one more timeout left.
Well, I'll tell you, we're going to have a bonanza player of the game picked, and it may be tough to pick one. It's really.
It may be decided on this play, Pete.
It may be.
Thornton has now called timeout, so they're going to talk it over defensively. No indications that Sanford is going to kick. It's only 2nd down, and they have 10 seconds left, and they would have a lot more options, Pete, if they didn't have those 6 or 8 seconds run off the clock before time was finally called.
That's true. That's true.
If you've got 17, 18 seconds left, you've got plenty of time to run a running play up the middle and still call timeout, have time to kick that field goal if you want to. And now with 10 seconds, you're running into that danger area. You've got to pile up. It's going to be tough to get a timeout with 10 seconds left.
What if the Redskins just didn't signal it because Jason Sullivan was there? It seemed like an eternity looking at the official. I guess it had to be called. Dan Laprise has started going toward the sideline. Here it is. 2nd and goal 1. Laprise is going to go in. And did he get in? He got in. Dan Laprise gets in with 7 seconds to go. And the Redskins go on top. It looked like he hesitated a little bit and snuck in there. Dan Laprise on a, what are you going to call it, a 1-yard plunge. And the Redskins are 7 seconds away, but in a game like this, you never know. They go up 13-7 with 7 seconds left. And I don't know. We had a choice of a couple of people here, and it may come down to either this person or this person for this particular game, and probably it's going to be a thing on there. So Eric Nelson will have an interview. We are hoping very much with a player of the game, and at the end of this game. But hold tight. We've got a while yet. We've got 7 seconds left for a run back. So Eric, we'll be checking with you later. Okay. As Rich Gould holds out a path for him to run down like a mad dog. Dan LaFreeze with 7 seconds left. A 1-yard TD plunge in this epic struggle here at Cobb Stadium in Sanford. And I remember in the cold of Thornton last year, Sanford did not play well in that particular game, but this game's so important for both these clubs. And Pender's kick is good. Jeff Pender with the kick, and Sanford leads it 14-7 with 7 seconds left, and we'll be back with the, no, we will not, we will stay right here. We will stay right here so I can do a solo act with, we'll bring Rich Gould in for a second. No, Rich Gould is up here keeping me awake, so we will have a player of the game as soon as this game ends, and I'll tell you what's going to happen. We're going to have a kickoff return. We're going to have one long bomb downfield, or we're going to have the most razzle-dazzle kickoff return you ever saw. And Dan LaFreeze with 7 seconds left. LaFreeze had a big 31-yard run earlier, but the Redskins lost the ball on a fumble near the line, and here's the kickoff by LaFreeze, and they're going to put it on the ground, and Bill Soucy, they don't want a long return, as you saw. Bill Soucy, number 16 for TA, makes the, just took it on the ground at his own 35, and that only ate up, well, actually, it didn't eat up much of anything, right? Though there was 7 seconds left when the TD was scored. There's 7 seconds left in this football game. Redskins in a prevent defense. They've got 4 deep men. And they got 3 people about 10 yards back and only 4 people up front, and they're going to drop someone else back. A field goal will not do TA any good in this game. And there's a penalty flag going up, and the play is going to be stopped. I think it's going to be 5 more yards on Sanford. Not a time as they pick up 5 more yards in penalties, giving them 60 for the evening, something that Pat Conley, the head coach of the Redskins, can't be too happy about. And across the way, you have a bunch of happy Sanford fans running over, I guess, to thinking of starting celebrating, but you can't do that at this point. You still get 5 seconds left in this game. And, okay, on the TA refuses the penalty. At this point, it really wouldn't make much difference for what they did. So stay tuned. We'll have a player of the game when this game has concluded. 5 seconds left, Sanford 14-7. There's Soucy, who gets dumped. He fires down deep. A pass is incomplete. And 1 second left in the game. Still 1 second left on the clock. And as you should see, Pat Sanford is putting people, they've got 4 people up front. The rest, they've got 3 back now, 20 yards back, and everybody else 50 yards back. The Redskins in the truest of prevent defenses. 1 more play to be run in this football game. And Sanford will have a big victory that they sorely needed so far in this season, which is the 4th game. Pass over to Gamache is complete. He's tackled, brought down, and that's the ball game. And about a pickup of about 16 yards on that play. And that's the ball game as the Sanford Redskins score with 7 seconds left. A 1-yard quarterback keeper by Dan LaFreeze, and win it 14-7 over Thornton Academy. Both teams are 2-2. We'll be back with the player of the game right after this.